Okay, so I cleaned up my work area, and the first thing that we're gonna work on is our pocket. Okay, so pocket instructions right up here. Pocket directions, and I'm gonna read as we go, so you should read along with me. With right sides together, sew around all sides using 1/2 inch seam allowance, leaving a 2 to 3 inch opening, not at a corner, for turning. You can mark your sewing line or 3 corners at a 1/2 inch so you know when to pivot. If your fabric has a certain nap or directions, be sure to match your design before sewing. Okay, so let's start with this. Let's work backwards. Let's start with the nap. The nap is your fabric directional, or does it have, like if it's a corduroy, does it have a direction that the fabric is laying in? So this is my tote body. So we are 18 by 19. Our 19-inch side is going to be the horizontal side. So that's the side that's going to, your opening is going to be at the top, and these are going to be all closed. So 19 inches. So the pocket, right? You want to determine for yourself if you want your pocket, my pattern, see now my pattern kind of disappears. It's going in the same direction. That would be directional. Or would you like it to contrast? Okay, I'm not sure yet. I have a feeling I'm going to go with this, but it's kind of cool too. All right. So you need to make that determination. Now here's a tip. If you don't want to make that determination just yet, this is what you can do. So here's my 2 pocket pieces. What you can do is you can turn one this way and one this way, and you can make that determination afterwards. But I think you should do that beforehand. So now when I cut this pocket, I didn't cut it so perfectly straight, and I can tell by looking at it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that I match my right sides together. So I'm taking the 2 right sides of the fabric and I'm placing them together, and I'm matching up my edges. If there were any notches or marks, I would be matching those as well. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm gonna show you how to mark your corners, because you're gonna be sewing a 1/2 inch seam, and what's gonna happen is you're gonna be sewing, and you're gonna get to a corner, and you're not gonna really know where to stop in order to pivot and continue sewing a 1/2 inch seam. So the easiest way to do it is take your hem gauge, set it to a 1/2 inch, and at each corner, you're gonna mark in, you're gonna mark in at a 1/2 inch on one side, and then you're gonna go to the other side and you're gonna mark across it. And what you have there, I hope I have the camera in the right place. See, I've created an X, and right at the intersection of that X is where you're gonna pivot. So now you know exactly where to pivot when you need to. So if I were you, I would mark all of your corners right now. I'm not really sure why the directions say mark 3. I would mark all of them. It's a terrible cutting job I have going on here. That's because I used these and not my nice gingers. So, there we go. The only other thing you're going to need to mark is you need to leave, it says a 2 to 3 inch opening. That 2 to 3 inch opening is going to be how we turn this pocket right side out. So, you actually do need to make a decision before you start. So, which way do you want your pattern to go? I guess just for argument's sake and just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to choose to go against the direction. And what I want is at the bottom. I'm going to mark the bottom of my pocket. So this is how I'm choosing my fabric direction to go. And at the bottom of my pocket, I'm going to just kind of mark, use this 5'2", and 1, 2, 2.5. So that's my stop and my start. We'll see what that means shortly. Okay, so now I'm going to pin. And remember, when you pin, make sure your edges are aligned. And we're going to pin at right angles, right on the sewing line. My dog is about to start whining. Let's hope he doesn't. I'm going to have to kick him out of the room. Now, this is not like with a pattern where I tell you to do the corner. We're just going to make sure our edges are lined up. Do a couple of pins. 3 is more than sufficient. Actually, you're going to pin right here on those marks that you made, just on that bottom piece, so that you know where to start and end. All right. See how the head of my pins is coming over the edge. Checking this side to make sure I'm lined up. The head of my pin is always sticking off the edge of the fabric so that I can pull out as I go, because I do not want to sew over pins. I don't want to break a needle. I don't want to hurt myself. There we go. So here's what I have. I'm all pinned. My corners are all marked, so I know where to pivot. And this is my starting and ending point. So when I start sewing, I'm going to put it into the machine, and I'm going to start, for argument's sake, here, and I'm going to sew all the way around, and I'm going to stop there. And what am I going to do at the beginning and the ending of sewing? I can't hear you. I'm going to backstitch. Okay? I'll meet you at the sewing machine.